and how best to prevent and to respond to violent extremism. Seems like something the government should be attuned to, no? There is one positive thing about the Trump administration and the cadre of goofs that he's put around him, and it's just the fecklessness. It's just the idiocy. It's the bumbling, stumbling nature of how they operate. And the obvious, just ham-fisted nonsense that takes place on a daily basis. It appears as though, from reporting from 404 Media, that in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death, after the right wing lost its mind, and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller and all of these asshole liars are out there acting as though left-wing violence is what caused the shooting. Left-wing incitement is what did this. We don't know anything about anything yet. We don't have any facts. We don't have any motives. We don't know. And they're already saying they did this. This was an organized campaign. Democrats did this, they say apoplectically. In the wake of that, they deleted a report. This report that the internet is forever, folks. I've had this for a long time. This report that outlines right-wing extremist domestic terror. That is the chief worry of the United States going forward. And this was erased from government websites as a resource. And it's a resource so we can prevent radicalism, the radicalizing of a population, so we can prevent it, but also how we can reverse after it's already been done. And it's been deleted by the government. This is a reporting from 404 Media. Get a load of this headline. DOJ deletes study showing domestic terrorists are most often right-wing. Following Charlie Kirk's assassination and the Trump administration's promise to go after, quote, the radical left, a study showing most domestic terrorism is far right was disappeared. Why would that be? I wonder why Donald Trump, it would be in his best interest to obscure the fact, the data, the research, the empirical evidence that right-wing terrorism is a graver threat than Islamic terrorism or left-wing terrorism, that the call's coming from inside the house, as it were. The Department of Justice has removed a study showing that white supremacist and far-right violence, quote, continues to outpace all other types of terrorism and domestic violent extremism in the United States. The study, which was conducted by the National Institute of Justice and hosted on a DOJ website, was available there until September 12, 2025, according to an archive of the page saved by the Wayback Machine. Daniel Dollemore, a PhD student studying online extremism at UNC Chapel Hill, first noticed the paper was deleted. Quote, the Department of Justice Office of Justice Programs is currently reviewing its websites and materials in accordance with recent executive orders and related guidance, reads a message on the page where the study was formerly hosted. During this review, some pages and publications will be unavailable. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause. The executive orders that they're talking about are penned by Donald Trump or Will Scharf, his nursemaid. They are signed by Donald Trump. This is a direct result of Donald Trump's ideology and hiding the facts, obscuring the reality of the very real, clear, and present danger that is faced by Americans at the hands of Donald Trump allies, Donald Trump supporters, Donald Trump benefactors, Donald Trump cult members. Shortly after Donald Trump took office, he issued an executive order that forced government agencies to scrub their sites of any mention of diversity, gender, DEI, and other forbidden words, and perceived notions of wokeness. The executive order impacted every government agency, including NASA, and was a huge waste of engineers' time. We don't know why the study about far-right extremist violence was removed recently, but it comes immediately after the assassination of conservative personality Charlie Kirk, accusations from the administration that the left is responsible for most political violence in the country, and a renewed commitment from the administration to crack down on the radical left. So, let me read you just from this very first page of this. What National Institute of Justice, that's what NIJ is, what NIJ research tells us about domestic extremism. And here is the purpose for this report. Again, as I summarized earlier, NIJ-funded research projects have led to a better understanding of the processes that result in violent action, factors that increase the risk of radicalizing to violence, and how best to prevent and respond to violent extremism, and how best to prevent and to respond to violent extremism. Seems like something the government should be attuned to, no? Seems like something we should set our minds to, our budgets to, our policy to, our hearts to, is preventing and responding adequately to violent extremism on either side. Now, the problem is when I say either side, I'm not giving equal weight to either side. Of course, there's radicals and violent people on the left, but if we're doing a scale here, it's right wing, very heavy in their amount of violence, their predilection toward violent action, right wing terror, the insurrection, ring a bell, and then up here, oh, you've got some left wingers. Listen to this. Militant, nationalistic, white supremacist, violent extremism has increased in the United States. In fact, the number of far-right attacks continues to outpace all other types of terrorism and domestic extremism. Since 1990, get a load of these numbers. Remarkable. And by the way, it removes any doubt as to why, any question as to why, what the motives would be of Donald Trump having this removed, trying to disappear this report, as 404 categorized it. Since 1990, far-right extremists have committed far more ideologically motivated homicides than far-left or radical Islamist extremists, including 227 events that took more than 520 lives. In the same period, far-left extremists committed 42 ideologically motivated attacks that took 78 lives. A recent threat assessment by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security concluded that domestic violent extremists are an acute threat and highlighted a probability that the COVID-19 pandemic-related stressors, long-standing ideological grievances related to immigration, and narratives surrounding electoral fraud will continue to serve as justification for violent actions. Those numbers are wild, are they not? Since 1990, 227 events that took 520 lives at the hands of right-wing ideological extremists, domestic terrorists, while left-wing, 42 motivated attacks, 78 lives. Is it a problem? Yeah, yes, of course. Any loss of life at the hands of terrorists, domestic extremists, is tragic. But to put them on the same scale, both sides have a problem. You're not doing it justice. You're giving the right the benefit of the doubt. You're legitimizing their point of view. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to give them, fascists, the benefit of the doubt. Because Donald Trump encourages violence with his words, with his actions, with his attitudes. There is no left-wing politician, no Democrat in office that encourages violence. The encouragement, the incitement, the condoning of violence only happens on the right. It only happens. I'm not talking about dipshits who are fired up on Twitter. I'm talking about political leaders. Over the past 20 years, the body of research that examines terrorism and domestic violent extremism has grown exponentially. Studies have looked at the similarities and differences between radicalization to violent domestic ideologies and radicalization to foreign extremist ideologies. Research has found that radicalization processes and outcomes, and perhaps potential prevention and intervention points, vary by group structure and crime type. In addition, research has explored promising and effective approaches for how communities can respond to radicalization and prevent future attacks. Would we not be interested in identifying before it happens in order to prevent the loss of life, the loss of Americans, the violent intervention in a political way, which is terrorism? Would we not want that? Why would this report be removed if they're concerned about curbing political violence, domestic extremism? We cannot let them off the hook. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. We can have it in the comments below. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. Please subscribe to this work. You can subscribe. You can like and follow the Facebook page of Dollemore Daily over there. You can also subscribe right here on YouTube. All of that is free. But if you want to help support this work, help me spread the word, talking about things like this, the other topics that I do on a daily basis, please consider supporting this work. Go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. For $2 a month, you can support this work over there. You can also do it right here on YouTube. You can click the join button below or over on the Facebook. Anyway, I love and appreciate you very much. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.